Brush away old heartaches. Happy New Year. A poem by John P. Reed. Brush away old heartaches and learn from our mistakes. Another year is finally over and a new dawn awakes. Let the old year out. Welcome the new one in. Bury the bad things of the past as a new year now begins. Make your New Year wishes as simple as you can. Pray for peace and love, not for wealth or fame. Pray for health and happiness. Pray for your fellow man. Pray for all the ones you love. Pray for those who've lost their way. As the midnight hour chimes, we leave the old and embrace the new. I wish the things you wish for yourself, and may God's love stay with you.
And thus the Institute for European Studies, now IES Abroad, was born. Clarence was part of the Vienna Center for more than 20 years. He taught in Vienna and was an exceptionally talented artist who exhibited in numerous galleries. He was inspired by the landscape and the history of Vienna and continued painting when he moved back to the United States up until his passing. Clarence and Alberta homesteaded while rearing their children and eventually counseled persons with AIDS on a Native American Indian reservation in New Mexico prior to returning in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They moved to Manzano in 2011, where they both continued their passions of expanding expanding understanding of different cultures by creating programs that brought residents, employees, and the Albuquerque community together. They achieved this by creating Manzano's community education program and the Manzano Art Gallery, later to be named the Giese Gallery in honor of Clarence and Alberta Giese. Alberta passed away in September 2017. Clarence passed away in July of 2018 at his home, Manzano del Sol. They were married for close to 70 years. And this was all provided by Chuck Qualley. Here is a New Year's prayer. Anyway, back to the New Year's prayer. As the dawn breaks on a new year, let us give thanks for all we hold dear, our health, our family, and our friends. Let us release our grudges, our anger, and our pains, for these are nothing but binding chains. Let us live each day in the most loving ways, the God-conscious way. And that's an unknown prayer. Shall I go? Looking for computer services? Need computer training for your organization or classes for yourself? Need your computer repaired? Diverse IT offers these services and more. Whether you need customized training for your team, help troubleshooting your computer, or even supplement to implement Salesforce or a new website, Diverse IT can help. We are a local IT team that has experience in computer training and repair services, and we would be happy to work with you. Diverse IT offers a variety of computer classes in Albuquerque for anyone who wants to learn more about how to safely and effectively use computers. Beginning classes and intermediate classes are both offered. Diverse IT is a non-profit program that is helping people with disabilities, seniors, people of color, and women to get started in tech. We provide computers to people with disabilities and local nonprofits too. When you work with us, you are supporting our larger mission to help others learn and grow. We appreciate your business. We'd love to have more computer-hungry seniors learn technical skills through our grant-funded free classes. Call us, and here's a number, or email us at diversity@GoAdelante Organization. Thank you. Diverse IT was submitted by David Allen, Diverse IT Technical Support.
8 gifts that don't cost a cent. My favorite kind. The gift of listening. But you must really listen. No interrupting, no daydreaming, no planning your response. Just listening. Then there's the gift of affection. Be generous with appropriate hugs, kisses, and pats on the back and handholds. Let these small actions demonstrate the love you have for your family and your friends. The gift of laughter. Clip cartoons. Share great articles and funny stories. Your gift will say, I love to laugh with you. The gift of a written note. It can be a simple, I love you, or thanks for the help note, or a full sonnet. A brief handwritten note may be remembered for a lifetime and may even change a life. The gift of a compliment. A simple and sincere, you look great in red, or you did a super job. That was a wonderful meal. Can make someone's day. The gift of a favor. Every day, go out of your way to do something kind. The gift of solitude. There are times when we want nothing better than to be left alone. Be sensitive to those times and give the gift of solitude to others. The gift of a cheerful disposition. The easiest way to feel good is to make others feel good. And that was submitted by Mary Gruby. And here's an old favorite that you may have heard when you were a child or just out of childhood. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. This is the abbreviation to be. This is by a little girl named Virginia O'Hanlon. Dear editor, she's writing, and I think it was to
the editor of
the New York Times.
New York,
I thought. Yeah, I'm 8 years old, and some of my friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says, if you see it in the sun, it's so. So this is published by the editor of the New York Sun, maybe a predecessor to the New York Times. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Signed, Virginia O'Hanlon. Virginia, your friends are wrong. They've been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist. And you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary the world would be if there were no Santa Claus. It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. Not to believe in a Santa Claus Claus. Nobody sees Santa Claus that is not a sign there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders of the seen and unseen in the world. No Santa Claus? Thank God, he lives and lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10,000 years from now, times 10, he will continue to make glad the heart of childhood. Signed, Francis P. Church, editor of the New York Sun, 1897. Virginia O'Hanlon went on to a career in education, becoming a school principal of the New York City school systems. She retired after 47 years and passed away as Virginia O'Hanlon Douglas in 1971 at the age of 81. You're on.
I'm on. How are you? We hear and say, how are you? Many times a day. Those simple words tell another we see them and care about them. We usually expect to hear an automatic, I'm fine, how are you? Rather than detailed answers about their well-being. We then move on to other conversation or go our separate ways, having acknowledged the presence of someone else. If we stop to think about that simple exchange, we could both feel good to have seen the other person. This social convention brought us closer without a lot of energy or thought. In some situations, however, how are you can become painful despite our good intentions. With people who have had a significant loss, the emphasis too often changes to, how are you? We care about the other person and genuinely want to know how they are doing at a difficult time. Living in community, the question itself adds to their grief because it carries an expectation that they will talk repeatedly about how they are doing as they grieve. It may have taken a great deal of courage just to leave their apartment or enter the dining room. They may be struggling to hold it together. They may be wishing for some normalcy at a very hard time. When we know someone is grieving, it's better grieving in some variation of, I'm so glad to see you. When they want to talk about their loved one or their loss, they will. Of course, we want to express sympathy and caring. It is appropriate to say, I'm sorry for your loss, or I am so saddened to hear of so-and-so's death the first time we see them. As time goes by, it can be healing to let people know that we miss their loved one too. Often this is best done by sending a card or note sharing a special memory of the person. This allows the receiver to choose when to read our thoughts and to respond when and if they choose. Such notes, even long after a person has died, are comforting. How much support can we offer depends on the relationship we have with the person who is grieving. The closer we are, the more welcome our support may be. If we are close, it is a kindness to offer to listen at a time of their choosing. Less close can still invite them over or take them to lunch and let them choose the conversational direction. If we have had a similar loss, we may or may not be able to offer special understanding. Each person will have their own way of doing the hard work of grieving. We can best support them by letting them decide when, how, and with whom to share. And this was written by the Reverend Lorna Cook. Smiling. Smile before you feel happy. Smiling makes you feel happier. Our brains are hardwired to believe that when we smile, we are responding to something positive. Endorphins are stimulated, which lowers stress levels, helps us feel that we are experiencing a more pleasurable, creating a glow of happiness. And that's another Mary Grube contribution.
The second floor welcomes Maria Villalardi. Villa Verdi.
Yeah.
Maria was born in Havana, Cuba. When she was 15, her family moved first to Venezuela and then a year later to New Jersey, where she graduated from high school. After high school, she enrolled in New York University and graduated with a degree in journalism and got married. Working for the media in New York City seemed overwhelming. So she became a VISTA volunteer and accepted a 2-year post in El Paso, Texas, where she helped set up a parent-led Head Start program. She moved to Albuquerque from El Paso at the suggestion of a fellow VISTA volunteer friend, and soon after, her only child, a son, died. She and her husband joined the Peace Corps and were assigned to Guatemala. Returning to Albuquerque, she was hired as Director of Training for Head Start and worked there for 4 to 5 years. She then entered a master's program in health education at UNM, graduating and obtaining her degree in 1980. After getting her degree, she finally utilized her journalism skills as a freelance radio producer. She produced Spanish language programs, originally affiliated with a radio station in San Jose, California. She obtained a job as International Service Director for Futures for Children, serving programs in Honduras, Costa Rica, and Oaxaca. In 2001, she became a life master's coach for health education workers. When she retired on a qualitative research project for Denver University's First Nations Clinic, tracking how much participants felt supported in their efforts in controlling diabetes and high blood pressure. When the project ended, she retired for good. Maria has a group of close friends, and they enjoy going to movies and attending performances of Musical Theater Southwest. She also volunteers with 2 organizations, Roadrunner Food Bank's Healthy Food Center and with the Immigration Law Center. She moved to Manzano del Sol because the vibe felt right. And when she brought a friend to look at it with her, he said it was, excuse me, the best place.
That was Ted.
That was Ted Martinez.
Yep.
Please take the opportunity to get to know our delightful new resident, written by Judith Liddell. Thoughts are affected by changing feelings that come and go. Don't allow them to rule every choice you make. You can train yourself to notice that you are thinking and how you are thinking, and then act in ways that align with your truest preference.
Older brains. Who wants older brains? Yeah. Brains of older people are slow because they know so much. People do not decline mentally with age. It just takes them longer to recall facts because they have more information in their brains. Scientists believe. Much like a computer struggles as the hard drive gets filled up, so too do humans take longer to access information, it has been suggested. Researchers say this slowing down is not the same as cognitive decline. The human brain works slower in old age, said Dr. Michael Ramskar, but only because we have stored more information over time. The brains of older people do not get weak. On the contrary, they simply know more. Also, older people often go to another room to get something, and when they get there, they stand there wondering what they came for. It is not a memory problem. It's nature's way of making older people do more exercise. Someone finally got it right. That came from Edwina Waddington.
Long-time nurse.
Where does it say that?
And I'm just ad-libbing.
Oh, you're ad-libbing.
But she did. She spent many years as a nurse.
Well, do you want me to go on, or do you want
Please.
to change?
Oh, no, you go right ahead.
Okay, snow. I awoke today to a world covered in white. The trees were lowing from the weight except for fir, which was standing tall. It brought back so many memories of my youth of sledding, building snowmen and snow forts, the fun of the snowball fights, and the shoveling of walkways. It was truly a fun land for young and old. It is now time when my grandma brought out her knitting needles to make warm sweaters and hats for the family. We sometimes laughed at her creations, but we wore them anyway to keep us warm. Let it snow. And that was written by Barbara O'Neill.
And she grew up in upper state New York, so she spent lots of
time in snow. Right.
Snowy winters.
Yeah. United Women in Faith. United Women in Faith invite any interested women to join us for a special time of fellowship. We normally meet the fourth Tuesday each month in the hobby room from 1:30 to 3. We will not be meeting in December, so we want to wish all of you a very blessed holiday season. We'll see you in January 2025. For questions or to RSVP, please call or text Sharon Christensen at the phone number that's given here. And this was written by Sharon Christensen.
We're just going straight ahead the whole month with outstanding pastors who dedicate their time or give their time. The only time they're not having a service is on Christmas night. and that's very fair. So the Sunday services, we've already had Hannah Scanlon. David Whiteley is going to be the next pastor to speak on the 8th. Bert Scott follows him. Then Tanya Blankenship. And then, once again, we'll have an opportunity at the end of December on the 29th to hear Hannah Scanlon. The Wednesday services at 6:30 are Lorna Cuke. Thank you. And Jerry told me how to say that.
Well, I
said, you Dutch people
I may have got it wrong.
Yeah, confuse me. And December 11th will be Reverend Taketo Torino. December 18th, Rachel Hance. And then no service on Christmas. And the Catholic services, first and third Monday at 10 a.m. And that's Father John Paul Oluchi of Fuegchegte. I have murdered that. I'm going to have to go and see the priest and see how he pronounces his name. Every second and fourth Monday at 10 o'clock, the meeting, say a group rosary. And that's very special to all of our Catholic friends, so you can inform them about those things and tell them to call us if they need to have that information. Nancy Agnew has submitted a poem, Slow Me Down, Lord. Slow me down, Lord. Ease the pounding of my heart by the quieting of my mind. Steady my hurried pace with a vision of the eternal reach of time. Give me, amid the confusion of the day, the calmness of the everlasting hills. Break the tension of my nerves and muscles with the soothing music of the singing streams that live in my memory. Help me to know the magical, restoring power of sleep. Teach me the art of taking minute vacations, of slowing down to look at a flower, to chat with a friend, to pat a dog, to read a few lines from a good book. Slow me down, Lord, and inspire me to send my roots deep into the soil of life's enduring values, that I may grow toward the stars of my greater destiny. Christmas Day Prayer. Father God, I pray for the whole world and pray for your peace and joy to fill all our hearts today. I pray that people will experience your unfailing love this Christmas. In all my plans today, I ask that you bless my family and friends. Thank you for everything we will eat and receive today.
I have a list of folks I know, all written in a book. And every year when Christmas comes, I go and take a look. And that is when I realize that these names are a part, not of the book they're written in, but of my very heart. For each name stands for someone who has crossed my path sometime. And in that meeting they've become the rhythm in each rhyme. And while it sounds fantastic for me to make this claim, I really feel that I'm composed of each remembered name. And while you may not be aware of any special link, just meeting you has changed my life a lot more than you think. For once I've met somebody the years cannot erase, the memory of a pleasant word or a friendly face. So never think my Christmas cards are just a mere routine of names upon a Christmas list, forgotten in between. For when I send a Christmas card that is addressed to you, it's because you are on the list of folks I'm indebted to. For I am but the total of the many. I'm sorry. For I am but the total of the many folks I've met, and you happen to be one of those I prefer not to forget. And whether I have known you for many years or few, in some way you have a part in shaping things I do. And every year when Christmas comes, I realize in you the best gift life can offer is meeting folks like you. And may the spirit of Christmas that forever endures leave its richest blessing in the hearts of you and yours. Submitted by Nancy Ann Magnew. This is the beginning of a new day. God has given me this day to use as I will. I can waste it, or I can use it for good. What I do today is very important because I am exchanging a day of my life for it. When tomorrow comes, this day will be gone forever, leaving something in its place I have traded for it. I want it to be gain, not loss. Good, not evil. Success, not failure. In order that I shall not forget the price I paid for it. There's Nancy Agnew again.
Letter. The day was cold and clear, perfect for sledding. Bill Johnson looked around and down the course. The snow was perfect for a record run. 3 practice runs had honed his nerves to a knife edge as he approached the starting line. The starting gun roared. Bill Johnson grasped the controls and the sled began to build up speed. A short straight down stretch, and then the first of many curves, any of which could throw you off, of course, into a crash. Bill Johnson steeled himself. A right turn. The sled now reaching top speed, and he guided the sled through the turn and again downhill. He could hear the crowd roaring and urging him on, but his attention had to be on the course. Now a left turn with a bank that tilted the sled, the runners making a swishing sound as they flew across the snow. Another left turn, not so sharp, but immediately proceeding into almost 90 degrees to the right. This called for steel nerves, but Bill Johnson was up for this day, and he would not let anything or anyone keep him from a record run. The wind whipped about his face and pushed into his goggles, but he kept his eyes on the course. 1/3 down the course, and the worst yet to come. The sled was now screaming down the course. The next, a series of sweeping right, left turns requiring precise placement of a sled to enter each turn. All Bill could do now was see the course. Everything else, the cold, the wind, the crowd, were gone from his attention. The course, the course, the course. A long straightaway to build up speed for the final challenges. Bill Johnson could see the famous W turns coming up quickly, and he re-gripped the controls. No time now to think about it. Just steer and let the sled do the rest. He hurtled into the first of the wicked turns, dead center on the course, and smoothly turned into the opposite turn. Poetry in motion. As Bill entered the final turn of the W, he felt a wonderful sensation pour over his body. I've just got to make this turn and I'm home free, he thought, and flew through and on to the final straightaway. I'm going to make it. A new world's record, no doubt. Bill brought the plunging sled to a stop, and now the roar of the crowd was in his ears. He bowed from side to side, acknowledging the crowd. What a day, what a run. Slowly, above the roar of the crowd, he heard a voice, a very familiar voice. "Billy Johnson, Billy Johnson," cried the voice. "You will be late for supper." Bill Johnson, downhill sledding champion, stooped, picked up his flexible flyer, and started for home. Our pilgrimage to Manzano del Sol, Part 2, Travel Music. 1971, Nebraska University got a 4-year contract with the federal government. Study for school teachers, Native American or New Mexican, immigrants from San Diego, segregated Chicago. I got on staff and learned to fly a small airplane for work and for travel. 1975, still in Nebraska and at the university on staff for extension work. Far west, Scottsbluff, ranching, cowboys, sugar beets, horses, New World. A good friend of ours, an architect, suggested a passive solar house. He designed it and built it. Vivian still thinks it's the best house she's ever seen. On to 1980, we came back to Lincoln. Vivian wanted to get another bachelor degree, this time in science for nursing. Only 2 schools in the United States offered it for 10 months. She moved to Omaha and saw the rest of the family occasionally, mostly on weekends. I cut my university workload to half, and the 2 girls were both in school. We bought a house for $10,600. It was a 2-story, 4-bedroom house with a basement. It was built in 1890 in Chicago by Montgomery Ward's catalog, shipped by rail to Lincoln, and reassembled. How can I remodel it into a passive solar house? We will see. 1989, still in Nebraska, but now on the staff of the Nebraska Lutheran Bishop. My job was related to social issues in the state's legislature. I also worked with 2 of our exchanged companion synods, Tanzania near Kilimanjaro, and traveled to Argentina. And you have the Iguazu, how do you pronounce
That's
it?
good
James
enough.
Falls.
Which one? Iguazu?
Iguazu, yes.
Iguazu.
And tango music. And, oh, how wonderful. So you overlap a lot of this publication this time. It's interesting. When our girls were in high school, we invited 3 exchange students to live with us for 1 year. First was from Sweden, the second from France, and the third was from Spain. We all went to France that summer to see their families, and we all stayed in contact with 2 of them. The Swede brought her boyfriend much later to see the Grand Canyon. Persephone, who is now 18, went to Hong Kong for a summer to work for Global Refuge. She taught English to children in camps who were fleeing from Vietnam. And when she came back, she continued to work with Global Refuge in Nebraska. By 1992, both of our girls were at the University of New Mexico. 1999, Washington, D.C., on staff for the Lutheran World Relief. My office was just 3 blocks from the Senate and House. 2 weeks on the job, I was sitting in the White House with about 20 of their church representatives, with President Clinton and Madeleine Albright, Secretary of State. I kept my mouth shut for the first time. Vivian worked in a hospital 3 days a week. She kept track, and we had at least 100 overnight visitors in the first year. Most of them family and friends from Nebraska and old friends from the Peace Corps. And that was James Bellman's second part 2 of Pilgrimage to Manzano del Sol.
Seeking a location to live and remain in good health, Gary Miller moved to New Mexico in 1947. On October 10th, as Christine fondly remembers, Gary originally comes from Wisconsin. He had been a member of the Air National Guard for 9 years, stationed at Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas, Nevada. Christian was born in France and arrived in Albuquerque in 1966. The couple met April 1st, 1967, and we were wed in Albuquerque June 18th. For many years, Gary taught industrial arts, mechanics, and drifting and computer science for Albuquerque Public Schools. Christian worked at UNM Hospital in the outpatient department. They settled in the South Valley, establishing their home and farm. Their property was not only a home to migrating homing pigeons, but Gary found and planted grapevines. One year, over 20 tons from their vineyard brought delight to many, with their luscious New Mexico grapes were sold to wineries around New Mexico. Gary has flown racing Homer's pigeons for over 30 years. He enjoyed last year's Old Bird racing competition by winning in 3 categories. Christian has worked many years at UNM Hospital's Human Resources Department. Obviously, they've enjoyed New Mexico. Over the years, the couple has made more than 20 trips back to Europe to visit Christian's family and to go sightseeing. By the way, according to Gary, Christian is an exceptionally good cook. They both agree that there's no better place to live than in Albuquerque. That was written by Judith, I don't know whether it's Bender or Binder.
It's Binder.
Binder. The Lackadaisical Library, our paper library, could use some additional paperback books on its shelves. A number of our residents have generously donated titles which have been shared with health care center residents. If you have books you have finished reading or no longer want them in your personal library collection, consider sharing them through the Lackadaisical Library in the hobby room. If it would be more convenient, donate paperback books that can be left in the library donation boxes in the library. Thank you. And that was written by the MDS Library Committee. Here's a Library Committee update. The Library Committee of MDS will not meet in December of 2024 due to the many holiday activities. Members will meet again on January 8th, 2025 at 10 a.m. to continue business as usual. Please note this change on your schedule. And that comes from the MDS Library Committee.
Ray, this is your article. I think it's always better when you hear your voice reading.
Okay. The future's future. The future was never in doubt. There it was, spread through page after page of the dated magazines. Mrs. Gilstrap gave us magazines to enjoy. In 1950, the cities would be great, round, antiseptic glass towers with streets and highways running through them. Highways with controlled traffic, no accidents there. The clear sky of promise was spattered with personal flying machines, a new breed of birds. Oh, it would be a marvelous time when the world turned the corner to greet the new age predicted in the pictures of the New York Fair. Those Depression Day dreamers failed to factor a warm in their... Let me start that again. Those Depression Day dreamers failed to factor a war into their equation for progress. Their future was unceremoniously dropped like a failed vaudeville act. Dropped, yes, but the future did not die. It was moved to 1960, when superhighways and jets would bring travelers to the new Oz that strongly resembled the pictures from the 30s. Again, The seers failed to include more wars and social upheavals in their formula for the new revised and improved Oz of 2000. Somewhere out there, the Emerald City, emblem of the land of Oz, is waiting to be discovered or built on another planet, and no one seems eager to assign a date for the grand opening events.
Huh. Okay. Rebecca is on the 5th floor, and she was born in Pennsylvania, the Pittsburgh side. After her dad returned from the war, they moved around a bit. California was one place where her family lived, and during that time they did a lot of camping in New Mexico. She loved the area and decided she'd like to live here at some point. And now, here she is. In her 30s, she received her BA and master's degree in special ed. In the late 50s, when the Right to Education Act was passed, she worked with several severely disabled people. Excuse me, she worked with severely disabled people, not several of them. I imagine a lot of them. She and her 3 sons moved to Baltimore, Maryland. And then in 2002, they moved to Albuquerque. In addition to her sons, she has 5 grandchildren, 2 great-grandchildren. Her granddaughter Anna now lives in Ohio and has been a huge help with her move to Manzano del Sol. Rebecca volunteered at the Art Museum until just a couple of months ago, and she's a member of the Unitarian Church, which she attends via Zoom. Welcome, Rebecca Roth. And that was written by Barbara Laswell. And that is the end of our edition for the month of December.